Hello, my name is Yadira Munguia, and I'm your host for this episode of the College and Career Readiness Podcast. Today we are joined by our special guest, Brian May. Before we start our interview, remember to take control of your future, join the California Army National Guard, and serve your community during local and state emergencies. You'll learn marketable skills, earn a paycheck, and get money for school. Contact Sergeant Aquino today at 916-233-7615. So thank you so much for coming today, Mr. May.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.
And could you just tell me a little bit about your career and what you do on a day-to-day basis?
So I am currently a public information officer for the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. We're a branch under Homeland Security. It's a fancy title. What that basically means is I'm a spokesperson for the state of California whenever we have a natural disaster. The fires, floods that we've been having, if there were to be a major earthquake, and we know there will be, there's going to be messages that need to get out to the people who have been evacuated, the people who've lost their homes in the fires, and so my job is to make sure that we're getting the message out. People can find out where to go for food, for water, clothing, shelter. A lot of times you bring your animals with you and you forget to bring the food. We'll line up, make sure that you know where to go for food, for medicine. We let you know when it's safe to go back home if that's an option, or how long you need to stay out. So my job is just to make sure that people know exactly what's going on when our state faces one of the emergencies.
Nice. And how long have you been doing that for?
I've been with Cal OES for about 2 years, and prior to that I spent 30 years as a television sportscaster. So I did sports on TV in my home state of Texas. I went to Nashville for a couple of years and then moved out to Sacramento in 1999 and did sports out here for almost 20 years.
Nice. And is there a big difference between for you personally between doing the sports and working for Cal OES now?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed doing sports. I got to go to 5 Super Bowls and 4 World Series.
Nice.
I was with the Giants in the locker room when they won all 3 World Series, so that was great. In sports, the worst thing that happens normally is somebody wins and somebody loses. There were times when we had to deal with some other stories, but for the most part, it's somebody wins and somebody loses. Now we're dealing with people have lost their homes. People have lost everything that they have. In Paradise recently, in Butte County, just north of Sacramento, we lost 18,000 homes overnight. 18,000 families had to leave and have yet to go back. They won't be able to rebuild for sometime years. And so dealing with that, seeing that on a first case basis can be difficult. But I feel very good about what we're doing. And again, we're simply there to help people, to get them back to some sort of normalcy. We get to go in and say, this is where you can go, even for just a hot meal or a cot to sleep in overnight. This is where you can go to feed your animal that you're really concerned about. So our job is to help people, and that's a good feeling.
And because you worked in sports before, what led you to change and work for Cal OES now?
I really enjoyed doing sports. Toward the end of it, I was just ready for a change. After 30 years of doing that, the station wanted me to be a little more controversial than I was willing to do. I tend to be a little bit more reserved, at least on camera. And so they wanted me to be a screaming type person and get mad. And that didn't feel comfortable to me. So I started looking around. It helped that a guy that I was working with, a guy by the name of John Larimore that I know you did a podcast with, John had just gone over to Cal OES, the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. And so when I started looking, I had conversations with John. He and I are longtime friends. And he said, this is a great place to go. You can still use all of your on-camera skills. You can still be a reporter. We do a lot of video. We find that putting videos out helps people more quickly than trying to write it down. They can look on their phone in 30 seconds. We can tell them where to go and what they need to know. So my skills as a TV reporter translated into this job perfectly, and it's been a big benefit for me.
And going back to your, how you were talking about your skills, where did you go to school, and where did you learn those skills that you use today?
So I grew up in Texas, just outside of Houston, right on the Texas-Louisiana border, and no one in my family had ever done any broadcasting. I don't really know why I caught the bug for it, but at a very early age, I knew I wanted to go into television and be a reporter. Turned out one of my Little League coaches, when I was playing Little League baseball, happened to work at a radio station. I went to him and said, teach me, learn me anything you can. And so I started working in radio when I was 16. By the time I was a senior in high school, I was working overnight at a radio station. So not necessarily the best parenting choices for my parents. I would work midnight to 6 and then come home for an hour and go to school for the day. But it taught me a lot. and I, from radio, transitioned into television. So I've been at this for a long time, and just I got to make all of my mistakes when I was really young and before there was social media. So when I messed up on television, it didn't wind up on Instagram or YouTube, but I made a lot of mistakes very young and learned how to kind of get over that and continue on.
So, like, how you were talking about how you started, like, what advice would you give somebody who's, like, starting out and, like, or just, like, interested in the field in general?
Well, for me, I would say you're never too young to start. There's no way I could have envisioned at 16 I would get a job at a radio station as an announcer, and I did because I just had the guts to. And it was really nerve-wracking for me even to walk up to my own coach and say, I really want to do this. Can you help me get a job? And he did. I find most people want to help people who want to follow on that path. So I would say, it doesn't matter if you're 16, 17, 18, you're never really too young to start that. If you have a passion for it, if you know it's something or think it's something that you want to do for a career, go for it. If it's whatever the field may be, medicine, lawyer, attorney, anything, find someone in that field and tell them, I'm interested, can you show me? 9 times out of 10, they want to show you. They want to feel proud about what they do, and it brings them pride when someone's interested and wants to follow their footsteps.
And, like, going off the, like, how you said people wanted to help you, do you think it's, like, really important to have connections when trying to get, like, started and, like, really go into news?
Absolutely. Connections are key, which is why I think interns are crucial as you get into college and if you have them available in high school. But we always talk about opening that door. Well, you have to make that first push to open that door, but chances are there's someone on the other side of that door that wants to continue opening it for you and wants to welcome you in and say, come on, let me show you what I know. Let me teach you what I've already learned. Let me help you get that. That's a great feeling for a mentor to be able to help somebody else coming up, but it does require you to make that first step and say, can you help me? Can you show me? Can I come watch you? Can I shadow you for the day or whatever it may be?
So it's more of like personal drive rather than like what you know.
Right. And a lot of times, listen, once you get in, it's okay to realize this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This is not what I'm interested in. I may want to change my career. It's okay to have that. You could just as easily learn this is not what I want to do as opposed to this is what I want to do. And so it's okay to make that happen.
And so, like, going back to, like, when you first started, how you were talking about, like, mistakes and stuff, is there anything, like, big or, like, any big obstacles that you faced, like, throughout, like, your journey, like, whether it was, like, in TV, like, with sportscasting or just like your career now? Is there anything that
the sad reality is when you're doing live television and you make a mistake, everybody sees it and there's no way to go back and fix that, and it can be incredibly embarrassing, especially if you're in front of your friends, or for me it was my hometown. So when I was making mistakes and you trip up on a word, you say the wrong word by accident, you lose your train of thought, sometimes you can look bad on camera and it can be embarrassing. But if you can't laugh at yourself, then this is not a good field for you to go on. And I learned that very early on. The worst happens is just bad television, and we go on to the next time. I can't imagine having a job where I was a doctor operating on someone, and then if you make a mistake, now we're talking life-threatening. For me, listen, if I get embarrassed and I make bad television for a couple minutes, I'll get over it and I'll move on.
Yeah. So for like somebody who's interested in this career, like you'd say you have to be like pretty confident and comfortable with yourself.
You do, and you have to have thick skin because if you ask for advice, listen, everyone's a critic, and especially with social media, when somebody can criticize you with anonymity, you don't know who they are. They can tell you, I didn't like what you were wearing. I didn't like what you did with your hair. I didn't like the way you said, I don't think you're good. Yeah. It's easy for someone to say that when they're hiding behind social media. I didn't really have to worry about that when I was growing up. There was no social media at that time, so it's much more uncommon for somebody to walk up to your face and say, I don't like you. I don't like what you're wearing. People don't do that face to face, but on social media, they do all the time. So if you're going to go into this, you just have to have thick skin and realize everybody's got an opinion. Just because somebody told me something, you can't let it ruin your day.
Were there any past like experiences that like have influenced like where you are now and like what you do today?
I liked even covering major sporting events, even covering the Super Bowl or the World Series. I liked telling personal stories. I liked connecting with someone and their emotions. So, for instance, being in the locker room with the Giants when they won the World Series, great experience for me. I didn't go in the locker room and say, Madison Bumgarner, tell me about that pitch that you threw. I went in the locker room and said, how does this feel? You just won the World Series. And to hear him say, you know what, I've been dreaming about this since I was 6. I didn't have him tell me about throwing a curveball or a fastball. I wanted him to tell me that emotion. I wanted to connect with that emotion. And I find that if you do that with people, Everyone has a story to tell. I can sit down right now with anyone in this room and say, tell me a story about your life. Tell me an experience that happened to you. And they can tap into that and they can tell me something unique. That's what makes storytelling well, is it literally is storytelling. Let people tap into their emotions and tell you how they feel and what they're feeling at that time.
So like in this career, would you say that you have like a lot of freedom with like what you want to ask and like what you want to do, like how you're talking about personal stories and that's what you focus on? So do you have like a lot of freedom with that?
We do. So my job now is usually following a major event. When we're going to Paradise in Butte County for the fires. I was just in Malibu yesterday. They had a big fire down there, and you're dealing with people at their worst of times. Again, they've lost everything. So now I feel like I because I know that human element and that emotion, I want to be sensitive to people. Sometimes if you ask them, okay, can you tell me about this? They just lost their home and they don't want to talk. And I want to be sensitive of that when that happens. If they do, I want to make sure that I get their version of the story, not my version. Oh, there was a big fire and 18,000 homes burned, but this person that I'm talking to, they're not one of 18,000 homes. That was their home. They're the one person at that moment that I really need to tell their story and focus on. So it's just a matter of being compassionate and understanding what they're going through and letting them know that I'm not here to exploit what happened to you, but maybe we can use your experience as a learning experience going forward.
Yeah, so it's like really important to be very understanding.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, we have three. When I got the job at OES, they told me there's 3 letters you're going to have to memorize, and it's CCO, and it stands for compassion, conviction, and optimism. So the compassion is, I understand what you've gone through. My sympathies are with you. I can't imagine what you're feeling right now, but thoughts and prayers are with you. The conviction is, we are doing everything we can to fix this. We're bringing in all the resources. We've got thousands of firefighters trying to put the fires out. We've got people building shelters up. We are going to get through this together. And the optimism, so CCO, the optimism is, we will get through this together. This community will be stronger when it's over, and we'll help you get through this together.
Yeah, I like that
It's
you're
good.
able to help people.
Yeah, it's good.
What would you say is like your favorite part about working at OES and like being able to do this?
So I again have a very strong video background. It's what I grew up doing. It's what I know, being on camera, and I still get to do that now. I'm still a television reporter. I'm just a TV reporter for the state of California. And again, I get to use my history and my experiences and my education to try and help people get back on their feet again. So I get to go all over the state of California. Literally, my office is California. So yesterday I was in Malibu. Next week I'll be in San Francisco, and the following week I'll be in San Diego. So I get to travel all over this beautiful state. Granted, sometimes after a really bad event, but I get to travel all over the state and help people get back together.
That's really cool. And lastly, is there any like advice you would give to somebody, like just in general about the career itself?
Yeah, be your own best advocate. Go out there and try and get that internship. Try and get those doors that are open. Again, knowing that someone likely is on the other side ready to help you. Be your own advocate. If you don't ask, then the answer is no answer.
Yeah.
It's okay to get told no sometimes, but at least you ask. And sometimes it takes more than one ask to get that yes answer that you're looking for. So just be your own best advocate. Go out there and push yourself and realize, listen, there's no reason that a kid from Beaumont, Texas should be a spokesperson for the state of California, but here I am. And it just took me being persevering and keep asking and making sure that I am my own best advocate. And I respect myself and those around me to do a good job.
Yeah, so like no one's going to get you there, but you know.
Right. That's exactly it.
Well, thank you so much for coming and doing this podcast for us. And remember, Tigers, respect is more than a word. In the U.S. Army, respect is earned every day, and now in addition to earning respect, you may qualify to earn up to $40,000 in bonuses. Learn more at goarmy.com/bonus or call 1-800-USA-ARMY.